Picture a world where the exhausted 3 a.m. scroll never happens because there's no reason to be tired, no alarm clocks, no coffee dependence, no 8 hours lost every single day, gone forever, unconscious, vulnerable, doing nothing productive at all. It sounds like a superpower. Extra decades of waking life, extra time to work, to think, to live. But before you get excited, consider this. Every animal that has ever lived on Earth, from the simplest worm to the largest whale, sleeps in some form. Even animals that seem to never stop moving still shut down part of their brain. Dolphins sleep with only half their brain at a time, so the other half can keep them breathing. Some birds can sleep mid-flight. Nothing has ever evolved a way to skip sleep entirely, and that should make you suspicious. What if sleep isn't the flaw in the human design? What if it's the price we pay for something we can't survive without?
Here's what most people get wrong about sleep. They think of it as wasted time, the body simply powering down because it ran out of energy. That's not what's happening. While you're unconscious, your brain is doing some of its most important work of the entire day. A cleaning system inside your skull, called the glymphatic system, floods your brain with fluid and physically flushes out toxic proteins that build up while you're awake, including ones linked to Alzheimer's disease. Your brain is also busy sorting the day's memories, deciding what to keep and what to erase, replaying important moments to lock them into long-term storage. Every night, without your permission, your brain edits your own mind. And here's the twist. This process is so critical that skipping it doesn't just make you tired, it makes you dangerous to yourself, cutting reaction time, judgment, and emotional control until you're functioning like someone who's been drinking. We still don't fully understand why the brain needs unconsciousness specifically to do this work, instead of doing it while you're awake. Losing sleep doesn't just cost you energy, it costs you a version of yourself.
Now imagine losing the ability to sleep completely, forever. That's not hypothetical. There's a real, rare genetic disease called Fatal Familial Insomnia, and it does exactly what the name says. It slowly destroys the brain's ability to sleep at all, and once the symptoms begin, patients are gone within a year or two. No exceptions, no cure. In the early stages, it looks almost enviable. More time awake, more hours in the day. But within weeks, the body starts to break down. Panic attacks, hallucinations, rapid weight loss. The body essentially begins to age and fail in fast forward, as if sleep wasn't just helping the brain, but holding the entire body together. Doctors who've studied it describe watching patients slip into a permanent waking nightmare, conscious but no longer entirely present. No one has been able to fully explain why the total absence of sleep is fatal, only that it is, every single time. Then there's a strange loophole in nature that hints at what a low-sleep human might actually look like. A small number of people carry a rare genetic mutation, most famously linked to a gene called DEC2, that lets them function fully on just 4 to 6 hours of sleep a night, sometimes for their entire lives, with no memory problems, no health decline, no exhaustion. Scientists call them natural short sleepers, and for years, researchers assumed people like this were secretly damaging their bodies without realizing it. But brain scans and long-term health studies kept coming back the same way: normal, sometimes even sharper than average. It's tempting to think this proves humans could evolve past sleep altogether. But here's the catch. These people aren't skipping the deep repair stages of sleep. They're just compressing them into a shorter window, cycling through the same critical maintenance faster and more efficiently. It's not less sleep, it's smarter sleep. We still don't fully understand what makes their brains capable of this, while the rest of ours simply can't keep up.
And if you want to see what happens when a normal brain tries to force its way past sleep entirely, look at Randy Gardner. In 1964, as a high school science project, he stayed awake for 11 days straight, roughly 264 hours, one of the longest verified periods of sleep deprivation in history. By day 3, he couldn't focus his eyes. By day 5, he was hallucinating, mistaking a street sign for a person. By day 9, his hands trembled uncontrollably and he struggled to complete basic sentences. Researchers monitoring him watched his brain begin misfiring in ways that mimicked serious psychiatric illness, not because anything was wrong with him, but because his brain was being kept from the one thing it needed to reset itself. He survived and remarkably recovered after just a few long sleeps. But scientists studying the case still can't fully explain how his brain avoided permanent damage when, in other extreme sleep deprivation cases, similar timelines have ended in irreversible harm.
So, if losing sleep is this dangerous, and even a few rare humans can only shrink it, not delete it, what does that tell us about a species that never needed sleep at all? Here's the tempting obvious answer. Sleep must just be an inefficient biology, a leftover flaw evolution hasn't fixed yet. And a species without it would simply be better, more productive, more advanced. But that explanation falls apart fast. Sleep isn't a bug that slipped through evolutionary quality control. It survived hundreds of millions of years of natural selection across nearly every species that has ever existed, even ones where sleeping should be a death sentence. Prey animals sleep even while predators hunt at night. Newborn animals sleep even when they're at their most vulnerable. If sleep were truly optional, some lucky species somewhere should have evolved past it by now, freeing up more hours to eat, mate, and survive. None have. That's not a coincidence. That's a sign that unconsciousness itself might be doing something so fundamental to a living brain that no amount of evolutionary pressure has ever found a workaround. The real answer may not be that sleep is a flaw we haven't escaped. It might be that consciousness itself can't run forever without shutting down to repair the very hardware that makes it possible. A sleepless human wouldn't just be a tired, free human. It might not be a stable human at all. Dolphins sleeping with half a brain just to survive the night. A disease that turns wakefulness into a death sentence. A rare few who've compressed sleep down to its bare essentials. A teenager who pushed the human brain to 11 days without rest and barely made it back. Every single one of them points to the same uncomfortable truth. Sleep was never the weak part of being human. It might be the part holding everything else together. So the next time you resent those lost hours, the alarm you didn't want to hear, the exhaustion you can't outrun, remember that somewhere in that darkness, your brain is doing the work that keeps you sane, keeps you healthy, keeps you, you. Maybe the real question was never why we need sleep. Maybe it's how a species that requires shutting down completely every single night ever became the ones telling the story of who's really in control. If this made you look at tonight's bedtime differently, let me know in the comments.